My Neighbor Totoro, which is the 1988 Studio Ghibli gem from Hayao Miyazaki, who by that point had made Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind, Laputa Castle in the Sky, would go on to make Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Ponyo, Boy and the Heron recently. So this is back on UK screens in cinemas in both subtitled and dubbed versions. It's how one feels about the Ghibli dubs is a difficult matter because they have been done very, very well. I mean, I know I've always got the thing about it's lovely to see them in the original version, but the fact of the matter is that my kids, like so many kids, were sort of brought up watching Ghibli films, and the dubs are very good. And that was great because they weren't at a point in which they were, up to, or they're not interested probably in reading subtitles. So see it in whichever version you want. It's just great to have it back on the screen. So it's a huge award-winning hit in its native territory, and then subsequently became this kind of international phenomenon. The symbol of Totoro became sort of the symbol of Ghibli. And if you see that now, Totoro is kind of one of those things as recognizable probably around the world as, something like Mickey Mouse or any of the other kind of great animated characters. Story is that the title character is a giant spirit creature found in the hollow of a tree by a young girl who attempts to make sense of the roars that the character makes, and therefore this is how she finds out what their name in inverted commas is. Here's a clip.
Who are you? A great big soot gremlin?
So that's how Totoro. Rah, rah, rah. So have you seen this, Simon?
I don't believe I have, actually.
Honestly, you should. Well, obviously, you should watch all the Ghibli films and certainly all the Miyazaki's. But so, as with most of the Miyazaki films, if you try and describe it in terms of plot, it not only does an injustice to the film, but it also kind of the plot is never the point. It works better to sort of describe it as a series of kind of nostalgic childhood images, which mix. There's this kind of constant fascination with the interplay between nature and humanity, and nature and the modern world. And there are all these, the things which you will have seen, even if you haven't seen the film, you will have seen people with rucksacks that have got an image of Totoro or of a cat-shaped bus or, somebody standing with an umbrella over this kind of giant creature. These are all things that are from the film that almost kind of passed into popular consciousness. I remember the first time I saw it wasn't in the cinema. I saw it at home because my daughter had seen Spirited Away, and I couldn't make head nor tail of Spirited Away. And my daughter really, really loved it and was really interested in watching other Ghibli stuff, which at that point wasn't kind of ubiquitous in the way that it is now. And then we went back and started going back through the back catalogue. And actually, some of the Ghibli stuff is quite tough. Some of it's quite grown up. even Spirited Away, I think, has got things in it that seem very, very disturbing to an adult viewer, although actually, as it turns out, not so disturbing for the young viewer. But then we had this kind of collection of Ghibli titles, and they would just be on all the time. And then I started getting into Joe Hisaishi, who was the music, the composer, who's kind of Miyazaki's John Williams, always does these kind of wonderfully re-listenable scores. But I've never seen it in a cinema. I've never seen it on the big screen. I've only ever seen it on the small screen. So the idea that it's back out in UK cinemas is, I can't imagine that there are many people listening to this show who haven't seen it or haven't seen a substantial other number of Miyazaki's Ghibli films. But the idea of getting the chance to see it on a big screen is a real treat. As I said, if you see it in the dub version or you see it in the subtitled version, it doesn't really matter. Because in the case of Ghibli, those dubs have been done well, generally. And it's just lovely that it's back in cinemas.
It's true of so many of the reissues, which is presumably why they're doing it, is that a couple of generations have grown up just seeing the stuff on a small screen.
Yeah,
whether
well-
whether it be the Potters or the Star Wars or whatever it is, you've grown up just watching it at home, and then to see it in all its projected glory is a wonderful thing.
Well, we discovered when Saving Mr. Banks came out that a large number of our audience had only ever seen Mary Poppins
Yes, of course.
on home viewing. And then when Mary Poppins 2 came out, I can't remember whether they did theatrically reissue Mary Poppins. If they didn't, it was a really missed opportunity because, as you will remember, Mary Poppins was one of the first DVDs that we were given when DVD was a new thing. They said, "Oh, we've got this thing called DVD," and they gave us one of the discs they gave us was a flipper disc of Mary Poppins that stops halfway through when Michael, stop stravaging, and then it just suddenly stops, and you have to get up and turn the flipper over and watch the other half of it. But I lived on watching that like at least twice a week for about 4 years and thinking I would love to see this back in the cinema. So it's great that Totaro's back in cinema.